We've got the Dell XPS 13 Core i7 version here. That's with the Skylake, the latest Skylake CPU, late 2015 version, and also the Quad HD Infinity edge-to-edge display. I'm going to give you some details from our lab test results and from the full review at notebookcheck.com, notebookcheck.net. I'll give you some details about color space, color accuracy, a few other little bits of information like PWM and reaction times as well. We'll also be looking at the performance of this system, this platform, and see how it performs under load, whether it gets warm, whether it produces any noise, or whether there's any throttling as well. Also give you a general overview of the XPS 13 as well. Don't forget to like the video if you get anything out of this, and don't forget to subscribe to catch up with videos in this series. So let's give you some specifications on the Dell XPS 13 that we're testing here. Specifications running up on the right hand of the screen there, but do note it's a Core i7 version. We've got the Skylake processor, so the graphics inside are HD 520. 8 gigs of RAM, that's still low power DDR3 RAM in here, and a 13-inch Quad HD screen, 3200 by 1800 pixels. It's 10-finger multi-touch, and it's an IGZO, sharp IGZO panel there. The SSD inside is a Samsung PM951 256 gigabytes. We'll give you some speed test results of that later in this video. 1.28 kilos, the power supply weighs just under 300 grams more, so you're up to about 1.55 kilos in total there. Let's just take a quick look at the ports. There's one thing to note on the other side, but on this side we've got USB 3 and a full size SD card slot. And on the other side we've got power, and we've got USB-C port here with USB 3.1 Gen 1 and Thunderbolt connectivity. Third USB 3 port there, and a headset port there. This little button is for you to check battery levels. You'll see 3 out of 5 bars showing there. So as before, the material's really nice, little rubberized casing to the keyboard there. On the keyboard itself, really nothing much changed. It's still backlit, it's still very nice to use. It feels good feeling to the keys, and the trackpad also pretty good. There's been some talk of wobbly or a slightly loose trackpad, but in this model we can't detect any of those, any of that looseness that's been reported by some owners. Let's get on to that screen then. This is a sharp IGZO panel at 3200 by 1800 pixels, so it's got a pretty impressive PPI ratio, or PPI number of 276, which is a really quite tight display. Now, Dell have an automatic adaptive display control on this, which means that when we turn off the adaptive brightness through Windows, we don't get full control of the brightness. It still actually adjusts slightly. Dell have actually brought out a tool recently for the Quad HD version that is going to turn that off, but in our tests with that on, we saw 285 nits in the middle, and when we shined a little light into the webcam on the top left, on the top of the screen, we actually managed to push that up to about 320 nits. So there's a little bit of room for improvement over that 285 figure you see there. In terms of contrast ratio, well, there's an excellent black level here of 0.18, so the contrast is right up there at 1583, despite this not being the brightest screen amongst a number of devices in this category. Colors and grey accuracy pretty good, 5.16 for grey, 4.89 for the delta on the colors. Anything around or below 5 is good, anything below 3 is excellent. In terms of color space coverage, we saw 59% from Adobe RGB, which is pretty good, but not quite as good as devices like the Surface Book, which come up at 64%. There's a quick view at the reaction times from black to white and from 50% to 80% grey, 30 milliseconds and 40 milliseconds. It's actually not too bad. It's not the fastest, but it's not too bad there. Now, pulse width modulation. This is a method that some manufacturers are using to lower screen brightness, so it's a very high frequency turning on and turning off of the backlights, and in some cases some people can actually see that. Now we've measured a PWM rate of about 4,900 Hertz, which is extremely high, and we doubt that anyone could actually notice that PWM figure. It's possible, so we've actually included it in our test results. So the 4,900 Hertz is the PWM figure there. For more details on PWM, a little bit of background on it, and also a little bit of a discussion on PWM on this Dell XPS 13, go and check out the full review where I've got a little bit more information for you. On to performance, so don't forget we've got a Skylake Core i7 CPU here. That's the 6500, not the very high end, but the 6500 version here. CPU multi 64-bit scores of Cinebench R15 coming in at 303 points, which is just about up there with the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book. Those were running actually the Core i5 version though. PC Mark 7 score, the Dell XPS 13 scoring 4977 here. Compare that with the MacBook Air, the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book, and it's a little bit below those three devices. Let's take a look at the storage. We're talking about NVMe storage here, so these aren't M2 or SATA connected storages. These are latest generation storage devices, and the read sequential speed there is 763.8 megabytes per second, which is a pretty good score. There are other devices with higher speeds, but in general that is a very good score. Look at the write 4K speeds as well. 121 megabytes per second is also very, very good. Some 3D GPU performance scores for you. Remember, we've got the HD Graphics 520 in here, so 5896 points there. That compares with the non-touch version pretty closely. Go down to the Surface Pro 4, which also has the 520, and that's getting 5853, so very comparable. Surface Book, of course, that has an NVIDIA 940M inside, and that's getting a lot higher score on this mark. How does that translate into gaming performance? For Tomb Raider, minimum and medium settings is going to give you good frame rates, but the other games we tested, BioShock, Dirt Rally, Metal Gear Solid, only really working on minimum settings. So don't expect to have full HD and certainly no Quad HD gaming on this laptop. So does all that performance translate to noise? No, it doesn't. The XPS 13 9350 is one of the quietest devices in the class, with a load maximum noise level of 34.8 dB. One of the reasons for that might be that Dell is actually letting the XPS 13 warm up quite high under load. 57 degrees on the top center of the keyboard is quite a high temperature, and higher than any that we tested in the same class, including the Surface Book at 44.2 and the Surface Pro 4 under load at 52.3 degrees. There's an interesting point on battery life. Early tests we didn't give very good battery life, but we've had a BIOS update since we did that. BIOS version 1.17 has given us much improved battery life figures. And there are the renewed battery life figures. So idle went up to 13 hours and 4 minutes. Pre-BIOS update, that was only 9 hours 37 minutes. Wi-Fi, surfing over Wi-Fi at 150 nits, 7 hours 12 minutes. That was, in our original test, 5 hours 33 minutes. Of course, under load, it's really going to kill the battery life. 1 hour 43 minutes, and that will be for gaming or rendering or CAD work and similar sort of things, similar sort of operations to that. So pros and cons for our Dell XPS 13 Pixel Monster. The casing, very good, great build quality there, and it's really nice to see that slim profile and the ultra mobile build. Good QHD panel and extremely thin. Of course, that edge to edge is a real attractive feature. Good system performance and a noticeably faster graphics card than in the previous generation. It's quiet even under load. Good connectivity for the size and a great keyboard and mouse pad, touchpad here. Nice tight hinges that don't rock or wobble. And we also measured very good quality microphone input as well. On the negative points, well, the webcam itself isn't very good. There's color space coverage issues with that deltas going over 5 in one case, but the color accuracy is quite good. There's no upgrade options here. There's very little access to the rear. And of course, we have a little bit of an issue with the ambient light sensor, although the latest is from Dell, that they will be releasing or have released software that will allow you to turn that off on the QHD version. So one final test for you here. This is the Cyberlink Powerdirector 14 rendering test that we've been doing in some of the videos. It's an additional test and it gives us a good overview of long-term power, noise and heat coming from the device. We've had the rendering test running now for around 4.5 to 5 minutes, and this is a full load test. And you can see up in the task manager there that the CPU is still running at 100%, 2.77 gigahertz, so there's no throttling occurred up to now. If I just check the temperatures in the middle top of the keyboard, that's where we measured it in our lab tests, that's where I'm feeling some heat there. There's a little bit of heat, maybe a little bit of air movement coming just around the 7, 8, F8, F9 keys there, but really nothing bad at all. I'm just going to listen to the noise. There's a router about 5 meters away from me which has a fan running, and I can hear that much, much louder than I can hear anything from this Dell. This is near silent, and that is reflecting the 40 dBA or 41 dBA score we got in our lab test. So very quiet and very cool during this load test so far. Let's let this run through and we'll see what final rendering time we get. Usually on a dual core Skylake we're looking for about 10 minutes. Quad core Skylake gaming machine with something like a Core i5 HQ processor would be around 5 to 6 minutes. And for a reference point, the Surface Pro 3, a dual core based on Haswell, is coming in at around 15 minutes on this score. So we're coming up to the end of that test there. There's about 20 seconds to go, but there has been no throttling at all during that process. There's some warmth on the keyboard that is quite warm around that 6 to 8 numeric key area there, but really nothing else to worry about. In fact, that's really not hot, that is just a little bit warm. Total rendering time was 9 minutes 20 seconds, just underneath the 10 minutes that I was expecting from this, so that's good, and that proves again there was no throttling, no serious throttling occurring. And again, no significant noise. So compared to the Surface Pro 4, for example, the same processing power over that rendering test, but with a lot less noise. So that's the Dell XPS 13 full review there. We gave it 87%, which is a good score, and there weren't too many negative points, as you saw at the end of that demonstration there. Price, €1,500 plus, so that's up to you whether you think that's good value or not for what you're getting, but it really is quite a unique device. That display is beautiful, and this really is a very small and lightweight 13-inch laptop. Again, if you're getting something out of these videos, if you're enjoying them, if it's helping you in your buying choices, don't forget to give us a like or a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the videos if you want to catch up with more videos in this series. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.